Hey, it's Mike, and we're back with another Create with GC2, Create with Code implementation. This time it's challenge number 1, and it's part of the player control unit. So there's a challenge at the end called plane programming, and you're supposed to take their project and fix it. So basically, there's you want to download the challenge 1 starter files and open the zip file. And we're going to import that into our project. And it needs to fix it so the plane moves forward at a constant rate. The up-down arrows tilt the nose of the plane up and down. And the camera follows along beside the plane as it flies. So there's different steps in this. So like the plane is going backwards, it's going too fast, it's tilting automatically. The camera is in the wrong place. The camera is not following the plane. The plane's propeller does not spin. So we're going to get these to work. But all of these are in their code, but we're just going to get rid of their code. So all the code that they have in there, we're just going to get rid of it, and we're going to replace it with GC2 logic. So let's get started. So once you've created a project, I have a URP project, and I downloaded the challenge 1 and imported it into my project using import package, custom package. So we've got the start U6 challenge 1 Unity package. So when it comes in, it goes into this challenge 1 and course library directories. This scene challenge 1 is what you want to open, and this is the starting point that they want you to use. So if we zoom out on this, so this plane is sort of like a Flappy Bird style setup. So the plane has to go through these holes. So you want to be able to steer the plane up and down. That's what we want to do. So, but right now it doesn't do that. It doesn't do much of anything. I think it goes around in circles or something. So you can see every so often. I don't even know where the plane is in here, but it's going around in circles. So we want to fix that. So first of all, we want to get rid of the scripts that they've added. So on the main camera, they have this follow script. We don't want that. We're going to use a camera shot instead. So let's remove that. And then on the player, let's unpack this prefab. Unpack completely. And we'll get rid of the player controller X script, because we're not going to use that. It has a speed, rotation speed, vertical input. We're going to handle that with GC2 directly. So to start with, so that should get rid of all the motion. It should sit still now. And yep, it's not moving. It's just sitting still. Okay. So we want to. So first of all, we're going to implement the up and down arrows to rotate the plane. That's probably the easiest thing to do. So let's start with that. So I'm going to add in the player object a child called player controller. And we're going to put a trigger in that. And we're going to do this in the life cycle on update. Or on fixed update. Actually, fixed update we're going to use because it has something to do with this is a rigid body. So we're going to use this rigid body at some point. So I'm going to put it in the fixed update. And then we're going to do the change rotation. And we need to set up the input system actions. So we're going to add a steer action, and that's an axis. And we're going to add a binding of a 1D axis, up, down, negative, positive. So the negative is bound to the down arrow, and the positive is the up arrow. And save that. And then we want to create an input manager. And an on start trigger, and we're just going to activate the input Enable the input action. Player, steer. So then to rotate this, we want to rotate it around the x-axis so that it rotates like a plane. So the x-axis we will set to the input action. Player, steer. And we'll take away the 180. We don't need that. So we want 0 and 0. And the rotation, we want to change it to add instead of set. And then we'll add the player as the transform that we want to do. So that should allow us to rotate the plane the way we want it to. Let's test it. Okay, so now when I go up, it rotates the plane down, and when the down arrow rotates it up. So that looks good. The next thing I want to do is fix the camera shot because it's looking behind it. So let's create a camera shot. And it will be a follow target camera shot. So I want to look at this game object, the player, and also the follow target game object player. And we want to be on a side view, so we're going to do 20 in the X, 0 in the Y, and 0 in the Z. And let's take a look at what that looks like. So now we have a side view, and we can rotate it up and down. So far, so good. Next, we want to add the forward motion. So let's do that next. So back in the player controller. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create a couple of variables. We want a velocity variable. So let's create some local name variables. One called velocity. This is sort of like a speed multiplier, but it's going to be a vector 3 because we want to go and move in both the y and the z axis. So we want to be able to control the speed it's going at, because otherwise you won't be able to. So what we want to do is multiply the direction that the plane is going, whichever way it's facing, by this vector 3. So we're going to multiply the vectors together. So we can multiply, or it's called scale product. Multiplies two vectors component wise. So we want to set that. So we want a velocity multiplier as well, a multiplier variable. And we'll set that to a vector 3. So we're going to set that. Velocity mult equals the direction 1. And we're going to multiply it by that velocity that we just set up. So what do we want here? We want the direction that this plane is facing. So how do we do that? We want to look at the game object direction. And then the game object is this player here. So we're going to multiply whatever direction it's facing. We're going to multiply the vector of the direction it's facing with the velocity vector. And then we're going to put it in this velocity mult. So that's that. And then we're going to use that. So now we need to add an instruction to set the velocity. So there's a change velocity 3D changes the current velocity of a rigid body. So does this player have a rigid body? Yes, it does. It does have a rigid body already. So we don't need to worry about that. And so what we're going to do is the rigid body, it will be set to the game object player. And the value is going to be that mult vector 3 that we set up, that we just calculated, the velocity mult. So let's give this a try and see if it works. And we can see if, okay. Okay, yep, so it seems to be working. As you can see, there's a bit of a, it's a little bit, there's a bit of a jitter there, if you can see that. So if we want to get rid of that jitter, and this is caused by the camera. It's the camera that's lagging a little bit, or it's the camera is getting moved, and then this fixed update is getting done. I think that's the order of operations, but the camera is on the main update. So what we want to do is change there's a run-in, and there's either a main update or a fixed update. So we can actually put the camera on the fixed update so that it's all being calculated on this at the same time in the same. So this is on fixed update as well. So let's take a look at this. All right, so it's much smoother now, and it's not automatically going up like it was before too, because it was automatically like as if I was pressing down, but I wasn't. So this is perfect. This is what we want now, and we can go through. And yeah, there is one little thing that happens if you touch any of the colliders, then it'll mess up the velocity of the plane, and it will automatically start rotating itself. So you don't want to touch any of the colliders. But in an actual game, if you touch the collider, that would be game over anyway. So we don't need to really worry about that issue. So that's done. And then the only other thing was the propeller. So they wanted us to fix the propeller rotation. So we can just put in a script here, a trigger on we'll use the same on late update. Or we can just do on update and see if that works. And then rotate, change rotation of the propeller itself. And we'll change the local rotation. And we want to change it in Z, we want to rotate it around the Z axis. So put 0 for the Y, and then let's try 10 for the Z axis, and then see if that works. So is it rotating? No, it is not. So I had it set to set. We want add. We want to add to the rotation, not just set it, because setting it, we'll set it at 10 degrees and it'll always be at 10 degrees. We want to keep rotating it, so add 10 degrees each time, every frame. So let's take a look. And that should have fixed the issue. And now we have a rotating propeller, so there we go. These are all the issues that they wanted fixed done, so we are done. So that is the end of this short challenge tutorial. Hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one where we will cover the endless runner. That's the next project. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next one.